So we move to the next speaker with Max Janse. Max Janse it's a very great pleasure for me to introduce you now as a speaker. You are a marine biologist, and you had previously worked for 3 large aquariums in Holland, among them Scheveningen and Amsterdam. Now you are working in Burger Zoo in Arnhem since 1998, and it's a very large site that I highly recommend to visit. It's very, very nice place to pay a visit to. So for those who never went to Arnhem, please go. It's very nice. Max is the creator of the ocean section, and also since 1 year and a half he is also in charge of the bush. The bush is a rainforest with a very big glass, and also in charge of the deserts section. So Max has more and more responsibilities in Arnhem Zoo. I should say that Max is a true naturalist, and he is very keen of every animal living on Earth. Because he deals with fish, but as well as birds and plenty of other animals. His passion is diving. He told me yesterday that now he has no time to dive, but he will go back to dive, I think, very quickly. He is never tired. Max is never tired. I never saw him tired. He is a very active person, and he organized, for example, the first symposium on coral husbandry in Arnhem in 2007. It was very, very nice event, a very tremendous success. And also he's the coordinator of the stud book for zebra shark. So that is a presentation about Max. That is a very gentleman guy. So please, Max, it's your turn.
Thank you, Pierre. I would like to talk about the reproduction of captive white-spotted eagle rays in our aquarium. There are many co-authors on the presentation here, and that's my team. And I wanted to present them as well, because it's impossible to do this all on your own. It's always the team that does the real job. And we are all very proud on the result of this. Let's see. The white-spotted eagle ray is a type of eagle ray that swims about 24 hours a day. It's an animal that can grow towards 2 meters in wingspan. It has a tail of nearly 3 meters or even longer. It's a very charismatic animal to look at, and it's very fun to take care of. If I go, yeah. The group history in our aquarium is that we got 9 animals in from the Maldives in 2000. 1 died due to skin parasites, and we found a solution at that time to treat. It's published in a paper if anybody is interested in it. We treated it with praziquantel, and then all the others survived. Except a few years later, there jumped 1 out of the tank. They are very active animals, and this was a young eagle ray, and the quarantine tank was not covered properly, something which happens a lot in aquaria, also in our place. It's not something you want, so that's why we covered our tanks even better now. Another interesting death was due to an intoxication of one of the rays, one of the other rays. It could be an eagle ray, it could also be a stingray. This animal was fine already for I think 3 years, and suddenly he died, and he had this big wound on his nose, and it was because of an intoxication of one of the other rays. Currently we have a group of 2 males and 4 females. They came in as a 50-centimeter wingspan, so really young animals, and now they are at 120 to 160 wingspan. We feed them individually. We have a feeding spot. We made a plate which is hanging underwater. It's on a 25-30 degrees angle where the rays can lay onto, because we have many different teleosts in the tank. And the problem is that if we try to feed these eagle rays, the teleosts come and bump the animals or pick the food out of the mouth of the eagle ray. So that's why we built this feeding plate, and that's fine now. We have no problems. We feed them quite often, not too much, but in any case quite often. 6 times a week, 2 times a day. Every day, every moment when we feed them, we give them another type of food, so only one type, and you really see big differences in what you feed. Some things they really like and other things they really hate. We give them mussels, gamba, many different types of fish, and of course some vitamin tablets. They are in a tunnel display in our aquarium. It's a 1.6 million liter tank. It has a shallow area that's called C here in this picture, and it has a deeper part which is called A, which is about 6 meters deep. It's a rocky coast area with a kind of jet on top of it, on top of the tunnel, where some boats can park. That's the idea in any case. So you can see the eagle ray swimming on top of you. There are different teleosts in there and 3 species of other elasmobranchs. I also would like to talk shortly about the filtration, because we are in Arnhem, which is quite far away from a proper seawater source. We make our own seawater, which is not the cheapest you can do, so that's why we try to close the system as much as possible. But that's why I want to just quickly look at our filtration system. The most important part is the protein skimmers and the trickling filters. There is one very small, this big sand filter on it, and every 11.5 hours the whole volume of this tank is filtered, which is not very much. Because we try to use the water as long as possible, we saw already after 2 years we have nitrate problems. So we introduced the denitrification system. It's a methanol-based upflow filter, very simple tank, and it does a good job to keep the nitrate level on a constant level. Also, after a few years, we saw when the nitrate levels keep on a stable level, we saw the phosphate level going through the roof. So that's why we decided also to create some sort of phosphate filter. We use iron chloride in there, and it's a settlement tank. And the flocculants that are produced we can discard to sewage. And it works quite well to get the phosphates down again. Sewage. And there is also a lot of natural filtration in the tank. And you see that especially in this tank at our aquarium, because we have, I think it's mostly because we have this methanol-based denitrification system. It produces quite a lot of organic matter, and part of it is taken out via the protein skimmers, but part of it will stay in the water column, and there's beautiful food for sponges and tunicates. So if you look at the artificial rocks in that aquarium, you will see many different species of sponges and tunicates. Something about the refreshments. This is an overview of what we refresh per year. So that ranges from 2% to about 10-12% per year. And in total, in the 11 years that we run this tank, we refreshed about 53%. And that's not very much. So half of the volume in that tank is still the old water that we produced when we started the aquarium. And this is just, I wanted to show you that it's possible to keep your water for a longer time. And we are all looking at sustainability for collection management, but also for running your aquarium. And the phosphate filters and nitrate filters are not that expensive to run. And then you can do things like this. The current water quality, nitrate levels are still quite high, 150 milligrams nitrate per liter, but yeah, it looks that it's not a problem for reproduction in the tank. Phosphates are still going down. They are now at 14, they have been at 25, so they go down now. In March this year, we saw one of the eagle rays, one of the larger females. She's about 1.50 meters in wingspan. We saw she got a real big belly. And yeah, then you always ask, why? What's the problem? Is it a disease problem, or did we feed it a little bit too much? Is it a pregnancy? Or is it something else? That's the question we always see when we work in an aquarium and we see something change from what we normally see. The good thing is that we feed these animals all individual, so we know exactly how much food they get in. So we knew already that they were not too fat because it's a normal diet we give to them. And she was feeding properly. There was nothing else we could see, so pregnancy would be a big point to look at. And it was a pregnancy. I have some pictures of her This is 45 days before she gave birth to a young, 35 days. And you see that the belly is getting more and more thick. Yeah, just a week before she gave birth to a young, she was enormous. The interesting part of this period is that we kept an eye on her, of course, but also you saw some movements in the belly, so you knew already that it was a young. These movements started about 14 weeks before birth. You also saw in that same period that there was also a lot of enlargement on the dorsal side. So everything was really pushed inside her. But the interesting part is she only wanted to eat more and more and more. This species is an oval viviparous species, so they lay an egg in themselves and with yolk. They feed the young 2 months, the first 2 months, with yolk, and then the yolk is finished. And then something happened which I was really surprised when I read about it. Within the uterus, there is the uterus wall changes a little bit, and a kind of microvilli are produced by the female. And from this microvilli, she produces a kind of milk, a very notorious, well, in any case, good food. And the young just get that fluid in, and that's the food where they grow on. And it's very weird story, but that's what I found in any case in the literature. So the pregnancy, we saw it happening, so we were really lucky. It was at 11 o'clock in the morning. One of my colleagues came to me, Max, I think it's going to happen now. So everybody was going down and was going to have a look. The first thing we saw, but then we didn't have a camera at that time yet, was that there were some threads hanging out of the cloaca. And then within 10 minutes time, you saw already 1/3 of the young hanging out of the female. And she was swimming a little bit more active in the tank, but still making her rounds. You can see the young even a little bit better. Is there a pointer on this or not? Yeah. I don't know if it's possible to see, but this is the back part of the young. Here you see part of the tail. The tail is really curled around the young, and the young itself is like a pancake. Just put her inside the female. Maybe you can see it better in this picture. Just a few minutes later, you saw the animal coming out further and further. There was some change in behavior of other fish in the aquarium, but not very much. It was really interesting to see. You saw some fluids coming out of the cloaca with the young, but there was even no reaction of animals that really started to grab that fluid or the pieces that came out. And that was interesting to see. We had twice in the 10 minutes that we were standing there, there was one fish going to have a look at the young, sticking halfway out of the female, and that's it. They turn around and swim away again. And it's quite interesting to see that this is just pure nature, and it's not really seen as a proper as a possible food source. Or luckily there are no sharks in this tank, so maybe then things would change. I don't know. This is the 10 seconds before giving birth. Before this, the giving birth, we saw a change in behavior of the female as well. She was swimming very normal, a little bit faster than normally, but suddenly she made very quick movements. And these eagle rays, they can swim very fast. And before she was going to swim very fast, she made a turn, a quick turn, like a 90 degrees turn. And we saw that happen 2 or 3 times. And that's their way, we think in any case, it's their way of getting the young further out. We did not see the belly changing very much, so it's more the movement at this part of the birth. It's more the movement of the female that brought the young out. Here she disappears around the corner. It always happens, of course, behind the corner. So we could not see her. But a few seconds later we saw her again, making a very, very fast move again. So probably again she made this 90 degrees turn, and that was exactly enough to give birth to the young. Because 1 second later we saw the young swimming. Here are a few details on the young sticking out of the female. And here, this I think is the microvilli that are produced, that will produce the food for the young, but I'm not 100% sure. In this picture you can see how it's a wrap, a ray wrap. Yeah, we were really, really lucky to be able to see this happening. The young was, when it was born, it was already 53 centimeters. We decided to take it out from the tank as quickly as possible. Well, that was very easy because the young, we saw the young swimming at around 4 meters deep in the aquarium, and it slowly went up to the surface, and we could pick it out very, very easily. The young could swim properly. That was not difficult, but you could see that it was banging the walls a little bit, and yeah, it still was a little bit. Where am I? Good question. So it got even worse when he disappeared in the net, of course. It's a young of 2.5 kilograms, and yeah, it looked fine. It's a female. She's now ready for quite a while in quarantine. We catch her every month to see the growth. So in the first month you didn't see any weight increase. It took around 7 days before she started to eat. I think in the first 3-4 days she started to show interest in food, and then we talk about gamba and small pieces of squid, but she still rejected the food. And after around a week, she started to feed. I think the first food she really ate was a gamba, and from then on, yeah, it went fine. We kept her in a 3-meter diameter quarantine tank. It's a black tank. She's very skittish. So when we appear in front of the tank, she quickly jumps out of the water. So you really have to be very careful when working with this animal. But it's getting better and better. She's more docile now, and the growth is good. I think it's important to weigh her on a regular basis. This tank we can only look from the top, so we don't know what's happening on the ventral side. We have seen also with the young, with the animals that arrived in 2000, that in quarantine they get problems with their pectoral girdle. There are sometimes wounds on this pectoral girdle because they go over the bottom of the tank, and it gets a little bit open. So that's why I want to take her out and see how she is doing. What next? Well, what next is that we have a second female now that is highly pregnant. You can see her here. That's last week. She's really she's really very thick. This is the largest female we have. She's 155 in wingspan. I think it's a 45 kilo, 50 kilogram female. The males are much smaller. They are about 1.20 meters. When they arrived, they were all the same size. So probably there is a bit of a difference in size between the different sexes. And so it's good to see this happening. It means in any case that there is a future coming out. That it's not only one activity, but hopefully it will go on. Even the first female, so that gave birth to this young, which I just presented, we think she's also pregnant again. We saw a few days after she gave birth, we saw already that she was chased by the males, and we saw these biting marks again on the ridge of the pectoral fins. So there has been some mating behavior. If it was successful, I don't know. But if you look at the belly here of this female, which is now 5 months ago that she gave birth to a young, it's again enlarging. So maybe again there is going to be a young coming out. Also, what's next is that I would like to start up a small discussion group on the husbandry of this species. We have seen that it's not an easy species to keep in aquaria. We have had a few problems, and we still have a few problems. And I've been already in contact with a few other colleagues in Europe. hearing that they have similar problems. So I think we should share this, and yeah, maybe in the future there will be more young. You never know, of course. So maybe we can exchange some animals. So if anybody wants to join in this small discussion group, please let me know. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Max, for this very nice presentation. Nature is amazing, and it shows again that we can see very beautiful things in aquarium. In China, during the Congress, we saw this the spawning of tuna. Yesterday we saw sailfin. Today we see spotted eagle ray. So it's a very nice event.
We have a great job.
Yes, thank you, Max. Is there any question about this reproduction for Max in the attendance? No question? Yes, here. I think Denis Stoney. Yes.
Dennis Stoney, Vancouver Aquarium. So you had one pup, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you think that's typical, since a lot of the other myliobatids often have like 4 pups?
Yeah, I've been in contact with a few other aquaria, and they have 1 to 3 pups. In comparison, it's quite a small female still, so I think that when she will grow bigger, and if she is going to get more young, I would expect that there will be 1, maybe then 2 or 3 young coming out. When you look in literature, they can have 4 young to the maximum. But interesting is that if you compare the size figures, and also in the other aquaria, is that the young are very, very large in comparison to what literature says about young eagle rays. Most of the eagle rays that are born in captivity, they are 40 to 50 centimeters, and from the wild you get figures like 30 centimeters or even 25 centimeters. And one of the animals that arrived at our place was only 30 centimeters in size. So it's quite interesting to see that that they grow much bigger in captivity, the young.
Do you think that's related to the fact there's only one in there and it had the opportunity to get more food and to stay in there longer before it got pushed out?
With one young you cannot conclude that, but it's possible. We did change the feeding regime a little bit in the last, I think the last month. She was really getting more and more hungry, and yeah, we thought, well, why not just give her a little bit more food? So maybe that also helped to get the young grow bigger. I don't know. Yeah. We need to have more young to have a good conclusion for that.
Yes, they will come. They will come because the other female will give birth. So please keep us informed, and if you have new babies, of course, send an email, and we'll be very happy to know that.
Okay.
Okay, Max. Thank you very much.
Thank you.